Some of the following information about parenting has been touched on in the video outlining 5 tips to helping children cope with bushfires and bushfire seasons. It's repeated here due to its importance. Parenting can be tricky business at the best of times, but can be more difficult at times of stress. During periods of high stress, parents can experience heightened emotions along with their children. This can lead to short fuses, miscommunication and frustration. During bushfire season, there's often more to do and more to organise. In the southern Australian states, this season coincides with the Christmas and New Year's festivities. It lasts through our summer and goes through term 1 to the Easter holidays. There's a lot to do on the land and more to organise for children at school. It's important to be aware of parenting expectations while managing stressful situations. Parenting is always easier when there's some structure. That's not necessarily having to go by the clock, but more about predictable events at predictable times of the day. Morning and evening routines bookend our days, and structure at these times helps things run smoothly and provides predictability for our children. Knowing who is likely to make breakfast, help get ready for school, and who will read the nighttime story provides comfort to children, especially when things are stressful or scary. Mornings and evenings can be trigger times for children as they're normally times of pressure. Children can be more worried in the morning before school as they may be having some difficulties socially. There may be a test that day, or there may be some changes to the normal school routine. During bushfire season, going to school can trigger anxiety as children worry about fire danger during the day. If you're aware of these things, you can help them to plan and prepare before the day. Do this preparing at a time when there is no pressure and they can think clearly and communicate effectively. Fire plans should include discussions about where children go if there is a fire situation on a school day, not just plans for when they're in your care. Nighttime can often be a tricky family time. Children are tired at the end of a busy day. When we're tired, we're less likely to think rationally or clearly. Combine this with less distractions and very frequently any upset feelings will pour out. Have a regular bedtime and turn screens off well and truly before bed. Read to your children and encourage them to read on their own. Consider mindfulness exercises before bed and respond to your children if they need you at bedtime. 10 minutes of settling and reassuring is often better spent than having things escalate and last for hours. Clear family rules can make communication easier when things are not going well. If children know what is appropriate behaviour and what is considered inappropriate for your family, then they are more likely to behave within these boundaries. If behaviour strays, having rules makes it easier to implement consequences without significant emotional upset. With clear communication of behavioural expectations, it's easier to manage any behavioural changes during stressful times. The focus on parenting can be more on supporting, communicating and reassuring. Another important part of parenting is parents' emotional state and understanding of how this can impact on a child's emotions. Parents are human. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. We're not robots. As a parent, give yourself a break for normal frustration like being short with a child who has asked the same question for what seems like the millionth time. Apologise and normalise these moments of heightened stress and anxiety by explaining what you are feeling and why. This is role modelling for children to learn about emotions and how to manage them. And this role modelling is essential for children and adolescents to learn how to express their own emotions. Communicating our emotions well should be a goal for all of us, but it's extremely hard to do, even more so at times of stress. Communication is important when parenting. One of the easiest times to communicate is at family dinners. Aim for as many as possible with no screens. Ask about each other's days. If you have teens and sometimes even primary school age children, you may just get a comment that nothing happened. Try not to let this trigger you. Just move on to the next person, but not before you've given them adequate time and opportunity to talk so that they feel like they're not being rushed or ignored. There are lots of ways to ask smaller children about their day, such as telling one thing that happened or telling one thing that they were grateful for. If you start this early, it's more likely to go into adolescence. This practice will help your children to be able to talk to you when things aren't going well or when they're worried, as they know that you'll listen. What is often one of the last things parents think about is their own emotional well-being and mental health. This is, however, one of the most important things we should be doing when thinking about our children and their well-being. A parent who is significantly stressed without good supports will be more tense, more easily frustrated and less predictable. Children will then respond negatively with their behaviour and the cycle will continue. Children read our emotional state constantly. When fire danger becomes extreme and we're living in bushfire areas, we're tense. Our bodies look more tense, we may be checking our phones more, emergency notifications may be more frequent. Children watch us all the time. They're often behind or beside us in the car. If we're tapping the steering wheel tensely or not listening to them properly, they'll know we're worried or not okay. Technology is essential in notifying us of danger. It's a really difficult situation to be in when you have children, as frequent emergency notifications make everyone heightened and more tense, but they're essential in knowing what might be happening around us. Try to take breaks or put your phone on silent, or check for notifications less frequently. Looking after our emotional and mental well-being includes managing our sleep, eating well, exercising regularly, and ensuring we're not using substances to manage and mask emotions. Finding someone to talk to is crucial. It's okay if this is not your partner, it may be a friend or a family member. Often the time to see a psychologist or a therapist is when our day-to-day function is negatively impacted by our mental health. Having a separate space to place worries, to discuss tricky emotions, and to speak honestly without having to filter words or emotions can provide space in our thinking and improve coping. When living in rural communities, it can feel uncomfortable seeing a professional you know or know about. Professionals who work in these communities are well aware of the importance of confidentiality and respect within their own private and professional lives. For some, seeing someone from the same community is really helpful, as there's a connection and the experience of living through bushfires is often shared. For others, seeking professional help outside their community is the way to go. Consider telehealth if distance is a barrier. You may feel like it won't work at first, but recent experiences in professionals using telehealth has made them very comfortable in this space. It's a therapist's job to make you feel comfortable, so give it a go. If you don't click with the first person you see, try someone else. None of us click with every person every time. Finally, let's just think about how to talk to your child about bushfire seasons and your bushfire plan. Use your own words. Each family has its own way of communicating. When discussing bushfire plans, choose a time when you're not distracted and make sure it's not too close to bedtime, as this allows for questions to be asked and for children to come back to ask more questions if they need. Encourage questions, but be mindful of only providing enough information for your child's age and developmental stage. For young children, this includes what you will take and where they'll go if a bushfire threatens your property. For older adolescents, it may include their role in preparing your home and property and stay and defend plans. Be mindful that while adolescents may be as physically strong as an adult, their cognitive and emotional development is much younger.